you this while I'm checking the stream to see if it's actually working. What has impressed you the most about the Nikon Z5? Because you've had some time with it. What is sort of that standout one thing that really excites you about this camera?
Honestly, the biggest thing, because I do think a lot of people with the Z5, they might be trying mirrorless for the first time, or might be retrying mirrorless. Maybe they looked at mirrorless cameras 2, 3, 4 years ago and they said, no, tech quite isn't there for me yet. So for me, the biggest wow factor is the EVF.
Gotcha.
The fact that it has the same resolution, the same size as the Z6, which is, I'm slightly biased, but it's one of the most natural looking EVFs on the market. And I absolutely cannot tell the difference picking the Z5 up over the Z6, which is which, and having that really kind of natural look to it just makes it that much more comfortable when people will go and pick this camera up.
Gotcha, gotcha. Amazing. And we are indeed live. It looks like everything's working. For those of you watching us live, if there's any questions you have, let me know in the chat. I am monitoring that as well. Or if there's any audio issues, let me know there and we'll take care of that. But Chris, thank you again for joining us. It's an exciting time. This is our first look with the Z5. There was some rumors. There were some rumors in the Nikon community that there was going to be something new, something fresh. And this is exciting in several different ways for me because you take a lot of the lessons that Nikon has learned since the introduction of the Z6, Z7, and the firmware updates that you guys really pushed onto that thing to make it almost an entirely new camera, and then improved upon it and targeted that sort of entry level full frame audience, which is really exciting because everyone's chasing for that number one spot and the clickbait articles and all that kind of stuff. But there's this huge group of people that either have an older mirrorless camera or a DSLR, and they're looking for something. Their ceiling is not that high. They just want to be able to create a specific type of content, and they're looking for something that is, well, more affordable, but does not sacrifice key features, especially with the software. So my first question to you is, what are the top three standout things about this camera for someone that's looking for that new entry-level full-frame camera? What's the three standout things with the Z5?
The three standout things, I'm going to say right off the bat, not actually the body. My top feature isn't actually going to be about the body. It's actually going to be the lens. So having this new 24 to 50 lens, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, but having this new 24 to 50 tiny zoom lens that comes with it as a package, that for me is probably one of the standout features because a lot of people, when they get into mirrorless, they think, well, I'm getting into mirrorless obviously for the technology, but they also want to make their package that they're bringing around their entire system smaller and lighter. And yes, mirrorless obviously helps shrink the body down, but generally the lenses are still the limiting factor. And if you're
Right.
carrying around an f2.8, even an f4 lens, you're going to be still having a very large lens. So this 24 to 50, I'd say, is for me the number one option, especially if somebody wants a smaller, more walk around, carryable package. That for me is one. Two is, I would say, the EVF. The fact that it has the same EVF as resolution and size as the Z6 and Z7, in my opinion, one of the most natural looking EVFs on the market. So having that built into an entry level full frame camera is really impressive. And then the last thing, I would say USB power delivery, purely because it's the first time we've ever actually done it with any of our cameras. So USB power delivery means that you can obviously plug the camera in through a USB cable and charge the battery internally, but power delivery means that you can actually power and use the camera while having it plugged in. So that means if you have a portable battery charger or you're just plugging it into a wall, having that ability is really cool and new for a lot of our users. So I would say that's my third option.
Awesome, awesome. The next question, and again, I don't know if this is direct from Nikon, so you might have to guess as well. But when they're designing a product like this, and especially at this affordable price that they have, what sort of group of people are they really looking to aim toward? Who is really going to find the most fulfillment from a product like this?
Well, yeah, when we're designing this product and we're figuring out the specs on it, obviously we do kind of have the little silos that we expect people to fall into, for customers to fall into. But I think for this camera, it is going to have a little bit of a wider spread because generally for entry level cameras, especially entry level full frame, when somebody is in the market. You had said earlier that not everybody has $4, 5, $6,000 to drop on getting into a new mirrorless system. So not everybody has that money. So they expect that they are going to have certain boxes that they may want checked off, but they may not be able to actually get those, knowing that they're going after an entry level price point. So I think due to the fact of how well spec'd the Z5 is in comparison to what else is out there in the entry level market, I think we are going to find some users that we maybe didn't expect. So I would say the number one user is probably going to be somebody coming in from the DX world, somebody with maybe a D5000, D7000 series camera where they haven't even been full frame yet. And they've kind of maybe been waiting to jump into mirrorless until the technology is there, and then they see the Z5, and you're getting the image quality that you expect from going full frame. You get the depth of field, the shallow depth of field capabilities, but now you're getting IBIS. Now you're getting the great EVF. Now you're getting 4K video. Now you're getting USB power delivery. So all of these things that they didn't maybe expect to be able to get from their first full frame mirrorless camera, they're now able to get with the Z5. So I'd say first time full frame users,
Right.
first time mirrorless users, and then the last category that I think is really going to be much bigger than we expected is people using this as a backup body, maybe even to a Z6 or a Z7. So
Yeah.
they may have a Z7 higher megapixel, and they say, well, wait a second, I want a smaller, lightweight camera that I don't need the video capabilities. I don't need to be able to shoot at 10 frames a second all the time. I will go and pick up this smaller and lighter option as a Z5, and the ergonomics are pretty much identical. The size and weight are pretty much identical. How I actually function and use the camera is going to be pretty much the same. So I think that when we're making the product, we do have individual people that we expect, but I think the Z5 is going to hit more people than we kind of hoped.
I love the attention that you guys paid with that new lens, that new 24 to 50, if I'm correct, lens, where it
Yep.
looks like a prime lens. And this is the thing that I talk about with other creators is that the whole mirrorless movement was about scaling down the size, empowering people by making things a lot more portable. And then you get these ginormous lenses and you feel compelled to buy them because of how great they are. And people say this is the best and that's the best. The fact that you have a product like this that is super, super portable and it still allows you to get these rich results, at least from what I've seen from your marketing images. I'm looking forward to testing it out. But even for someone that's just looking to be the casual photographer, someone that might be using it as a camera for live streaming, it's really compelling to have this smaller footprint with the body and lens. I want to actually talk about, though, what you just said, the B camera. The B camera is really interesting because we got to talk to Eric and Sean, a couple of Nikon shooters and ambassadors, and I'm imagining them where they have these pro bodies and maybe they move to that mirrorless pro body from Nikon, but to have something in that small footprint, even with that small lens, that they can just, it's almost, it's not really pocketable, but you know what I mean? It kind of gets close to that area where you
It's
fit in
it's
a
getting
small.
close for a full frame camera. It's actually close. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. So, in your sort of testing, when you were going out to Nikon ambassadors and they were sort of getting their first hands on it, what was their key takeaway from a product like this?
So I actually just had a WebEx conference with all of our Canadian ambassadors yesterday. Did it yesterday. Did them walk them through the entire product. Gave them my kind of feelings on the camera, and every single one of them. Well, before I even finished the talk, one of them, Zara, kind of put her hand up and went, when can I order mine? Because I don't even care. We were only halfway through the presentation. And Chris, I want to use this right now. Christian Bogner, he has, I think it's three Z7s and two Z6s. And he was interested in this as another body because he doesn't always need the capabilities of the other ones. And having this lens that comes with it really kind of makes that package just so different, it feels. So I think that they're really excited, even though people think of the ambassadors, as you mentioned, even Eric and Sean that you had talked to earlier.
Yeah.
These guys have D850s. They may have D5s, D6s now, but they're still really interested in this camera because even for them it checks a lot of the boxes of what they're hoping to get. And you had kind of mentioned the 24 to 50. I'll kind of show you here. So in my right hand here is the 24 to 70 f4. This is the
Right.
kit lens that usually comes with the Z6 and the Z7. And here right next to it is the new 24 to 50.
Wow.
So I've never actually heard anybody complain about the 24 to 70 being monstrously big, but look how it dwarfs the
Right.
tiny little 24 to 50 next to it. So not only in size, but also weight. The 24 to 50 is over 200 grams lighter than what the 24 to 70 is. And it's mind blowing every time I pick it up. Now, I will say that there are trade-offs. And this is kind of where users are going to have to kind of try and make this balance of, well, this is not a constant f2.8. This is not even a constant f4 aperture anymore. This is an f4 to 6.3. But
Yeah.
you're now pairing this with a full frame, one of the newest technology CMOS sensors on the market. So you're able to use a slightly higher ISO if you need to help work with that f6.3 aperture. So is this the perfect do everything lens for everybody? Are wedding photographers going to be picking this up and throwing and shooting an entire wedding with it? No. It may not have the reach that they wanted, not going to have the fast aperture that they want to kind of help blur that background. But I can tell you the majority of the time that I'm shooting, I have no problem going and throwing this on there if it's going to get me a smaller and lighter package, like you said, which is what a lot of people want out of a mirrorless system.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, a lens like that, what's compelling when I kind of envision the customer story or the customer journey, I'm trying to use road trip instead of travel because not a lot of people are flying now. But you know, imagine
True, true.
the street road trip kind of photography where you want a little bit of a zoom and you're shooting at f8 because it's really bright and sunny out anyway, f8 to f16.
Yep.
For those kind of environments, to be able to have something that small, that, you know, where it's almost like a pancake lens that sits there, and you get to take advantage of Nikon's, you know, the brand new autofocus that you guys have ushered in and updated on the Z6. It's really compelling. But there's more features to this thing. I mean, you guys put in dual card slots now, something that you guys got a bit of heat for on the Z6. I'm not going to say
Maybe.
whether it's
Yep.
fair or not fair, but the fact that you're getting on an entry-level full-frame camera dual card slots, and you have IBIS as well, right? So in your sort
Yep.
of use, how has the IBIS worked out for you? Is it exceeded expectations? Is it as good? Where have you landed with that?
I cannot tell the difference between the IBIS in the Z5 and the IBIS in the Z6 and the Z7, and that
Wow.
to me is a huge check mark, a huge bonus for any Z5 user. Because if it's the same IBIS system that users are loving in the Z6 and the Z7, whether you're using your native Z lenses or whether you're using the FTZ adapter and you're maybe, let's say, throwing on an older f-mount lens, or let's say one of the greatest portrait lenses ever, the 105 f1.4, well, that doesn't have VR built in. Well, you go throw that on this body with the FTZ, you now have VR. So whether you're using the native lenses or whether you're using older f-mount lenses, you're getting the best of both worlds with the IBIS system that comes with the Z5.
You mean like even this lens over here that I conveniently have placed? Totally not for this live stream. Like this 8414D lens, really old
Yep.
lens, but it has just such a mystique to it. And I got a good deal on it. I had to pick it up. But it's exciting for me because I'm expecting you guys to send me this camera so I can test it out for a few weeks. But to put this lens on that body and to get the stabilization and to take video, it's really exciting, especially because and I don't know, listen, I work for Henry's, but I'll just say it. There's a huge amount of used products that we carry. There's a huge amount of used lenses that you can find on, you know, Kijiji, eBay, that kind of thing. And Nikon has this rich history of lenses from their, you know, that you can go years back and that you can pick up and won't break the bank. So to pair things like this with their unique characteristics to these modern sensors and bodies, that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for people to kind of renew their passion for photography. And it doesn't necessarily, obviously, I have fallen in love with the Z lenses. That's one of the reasons for me that I really pick up my Z cameras time and time again now, is because of how good the new optics are. But a lot of people are finding that passion again for photography in using old lenses. Now, if you are using older D or even older AI lenses, you don't have autofocus with these cameras, but they do have focus aids such as focus peaking, and they have the VR capability now built right in. So even though they may not have all the bells and whistles that some of the newer kind of sexier Z lenses have, having that ability to still use them is still really, really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk about the sensor specifically. Is it the exact same sensor as the Z6, or it's kind of newer, right?
It is different. So the Z6 has a backside illuminated 24.5 megapixel CMOS sensor, and the Z5 has a 24.3, so almost the same resolution, but it is not a backside illuminated sensor. So it is slightly different in terms of what you're going to get, which does mean that image quality will be a little bit different. Basically, only at very high ISOs, though. From my testing, now I don't want to say anything too much because I am using a pre-production sample, so I always kind of wait till I get a final production before I do proper high ISO and dynamic range testing. But from what I'm seeing so far, it's really, really close. Like to the point that I don't even think most people would be able to tell the difference.
Awesome. I'm going to plug in my power cable to my laptop because I just realized I didn't plug it in this entire time. So we don't want any interruptions there. In terms of the body itself, like what are the differences between this and the Z6 and Z7? Because one of the things I love about Nikon, I mentioned in the video, is the attention to ergonomics. Like that Nikon grip, whether it's a DSLR or mirrorless, it just feels comfortable in the hand. So how is there any concessions made with this camera with regard to that grip and the body?
No, pretty much not. I'll say kind of when we came out with the Z6 and Z7, a lot of people when they first picked it up, they kind of went, "Oh, yeah, that feels just like a Nikon to me." And you're going to have that exact same feel with the Z5. Now, the only real difference to the body that some people may want on the higher end cameras is the top of the camera. On a Z6 or Z7 in this area here, we'll actually have a top LCD panel. So that'll give you some more shooting information. That has been removed on this entry level camera, and now it's in place of the mode dial. But other than that, you would not, if I put these two cameras in your hands, Gadget, you would not be able to tell the difference. There's the function 1, function 2 buttons on the front. You even have, like, tell me what other entry level camera has an AF on button and an autofocus joystick controller on the back. So they have some really high end features that really will allow people to kind of stretch their legs and grow with the camera that other entry level products that they maybe won't find, or they maybe wouldn't have expected to find at this price point.
Amazing. I got a question here. Will the Z5 ship with the FTZ adapter in box?
As a hard bundle, no. In Canada, we are going to have either a body only option or a hard bundled kit with the 24 to 50. So that's the new smaller kit lens. Whether it comes as an additional package is usually up to let's say Henry's to figure out if they're going to package it with it, maybe give a bit of a deal. But out of the gate, to my knowledge, it will not be hard bundled at all.
I will say, when I talk about pricing, I get nervous because I never want to get this wrong. But at this time, Henry's has it priced noticeably lower than the MSRP from Nikon. So what I will say for the person that asked the question is that those savings can get you that FTZ adapter and still be under MSRP according to Nikon. So there's also that. I want to ask you this question. Maybe we kind of wrap up on this, and we'll actually let's start with pricing. What is the MSRP from Nikon for the body and then the kit?
The body is going to be, if I can rack my brain here, $2,049, so $2,050 for the body. That's our MSRP, but like you just said, you will normally find it a little bit cheaper at retailers. So $2,050 is going to be for the body, and then $2,449 is with the body and the lens. That 24 to 50 hard bundled kit.
Awesome. Awesome. So again, guys, if you go to henrys.com, you can check out the Nikon Z5 and you'll see our pricing there up to date. I won't say it now just in case you're watching this in the future, but you'll find all the details there. Let's wrap it up on this. So someone's coming into the Henry's location and they're looking at a camera to upgrade to, right? They've had this maybe DX camera from Nikon, or maybe from another, manufacturer, a crop sensor camera, whether it's DSLR or mirrorless. What what would you say to them that this would make the perfect camera for them? What are sort of the boxes that this customer would want to tick off that a Z5 would kind of fit in perfectly for them?
Okay, so let me kind of hit, and this will probably be a little bit longer of an answer than you wanted since we are wrapping up. But as you mentioned earlier, ergonomics. That for me is when you first pick up a camera, that's the camera that you're going to be using for months and years down the road. So you want to make sure that it's comfortable, that it is going to last you now, but that it is going to help you grow in the future. So being able to pick up that Z5 and have the really comfortable grip, have the customizability of the body, that for me is key. So pick up the camera and just hold it and see how comfortable it is. The second thing, when it comes to mirrorless, the EVF is a huge deal. And a lot of people who maybe haven't been through the mirrorless world yet don't realize that there is a vast difference between different EVFs on the market in terms of the size, in terms of the resolution, in terms of you hear a lot of people who say, "Oh, I don't like EVFs. It's like looking at a tiny TV screen." And that may have been the case in the past, but specifically, I'll talk to the Nikons. We spent a lot of time putting a lot of effort into the optics of an EVF, which a lot of people go, why would you do that? It's just a small little screen with some dots and pixels. And well, that's true, but there is a lot that goes into making the actual EVF itself feel natural and not look like you're looking at a little digital screen. So the fact that you have the highest resolution and the largest size of an EVF for this market is huge. So not only is it the ergonomics of the camera, it's when you actually lift it up to your eye and you're actually now using it, how comfortable is it going to be? So those two things are getting people comfortable with shooting mirrorless are, for me, huge. And then on top of the fact is the fact that you have a fully weather sealed body. So people in the past, I've heard this said a couple times before we were in the mirrorless world, where, oh yeah, I still use my Nikon DSLR when I'm out shooting in bad weather, but I'll only use my mirrorless camera that I've gone to because it's smaller and lighter when it's good weather. Well, with the Z5, you don't have to worry about it. Fully weather sealed, and so is the lens. The new 24 to 50 is weather sealed as well. Magnesium alloy chassis. So there's a lot going on. A lot of the boxes that you're getting checked, we talked about IBIS already. The fact that you have all the built-in wireless options. You have Bluetooth, you have Wi-Fi, you can go and send photos to your computer, to your phone. So all of the newest technology, including obviously hybrid AF, which you've mentioned. So all of those boxes that kind of people go, okay, I want the best build quality, I want the best weather sealing, I want IBIS, I want the best EVF. All of these things that are important to them, they are able to get all in one body, which is really cool and really awesome to be able to provide this to people without having to say, oh, you're really losing out on half the things. You have to upgrade to the higher end body to get those things. No, you're getting a ton of the higher end features in this entry level camera.
Awesome. I said we were going to finish, but I got a couple more questions. So I lied. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. Don is asking, how does the 4K video compare to the Z5 to the Z6?
Okay, so that is one of the differences. So if you are a heavy video user, I would recommend the Z6 over the Z5. The quality itself is, I will say, fantastic. But if you're going to be picky as to the difference between a Z6 and a Z5, the Z5 will do 4K, but there's a 1.7 times crop on it. So is that a major deal for you? It kind of depends. If you're using it for small clips here and there, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. One of our ambassadors, Michelle Valberg, she does a ton of slow motion shooting. So she shoots with a Z6 and a Z7, shoots 120 frames per second, slows the action down as, let's say she's shooting bears up north, and the bear starts waving its fur, and you see these water droplets in slow motion flying off the bear. Well, with that type of usage, Michelle is much more better off with a Z6 or a Z7 because they have the 120p. The Z5 can shoot 1080p, but only at 60p. So for heavy video usage, I would say the Z6 is still a little bit better primed. You can absolutely shoot video with the Z5 and get amazing quality. But if you want to push yourself and shoot 10-bit or N-Log, or if you want to get the paid firmware upgrade to get ProRes RAW, then I would start looking at the Z6 as a better option.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the questions. And Chris, thank you for the time. I'm looking forward to playing with this camera. For those of you interested, again, henrys.com, just go to the search bar or go to pre-orders. You'll see the Nikon Z5 there with all the information. We also have live chat on henrys.com. So if you have more questions about this camera, use the live chat on henrys.com. You can talk to a real product expert from Henry's and they can guide you in the right direction. Chris, send me that camera as soon as possible, sir. I'm looking forward to testing it out. And you have a great week.
You too, man.